Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
All right, and welcome back as we continue to cover the governor as he made his way through the Houma Thibodeau area today. And certainly we go to the columns now, where several organizations got together to really allow the governor to come in and talk about some amendments and sort of give his state of the state address. And he did a good job of doing that. So what you'll hear here is the same kind of speech that he did in Thibodeau, but nonetheless, slightly different crowds, some of the same faces you'll see in both places, of course. But we now go to Houma at the columns as the governor of the state of Louisiana, there to let the people know what's happening in the state of Louisiana.
Good morning. I'm Senator Robert Alle, and it is a pleasure to serve as your MC for today's joint luncheon. This event is made possible through the collaboration of 6 organizations listed in alphabetical order. Please hold your applause. Bayou Industrial Group, chaired by Ray Peters of Nicholls State University. Houma Terrebonne Chamber, chaired by Tonya Harris of Leader Teak. Lafourche Chamber, chaired by Jared David of Nicholls State University. St. Mary Chamber, chaired by Brady Borrell, KQKI radio station. South Central Industrial Association, led by President J.J. Buquet of Buquet Distributing Company. And finally, the Thibodeau Chamber, chaired by Brian Vale of Gobert Oil Company. Thank you. We also extend our gratitude to our generous sponsors, listed in alphabetical order. Bayou Bend Health System, represented by CEO Stephanie Guidry. CoLab, represented by CEO Christy Zerang. Greater Lafourche Port Commission, represented by Executive Director Chet Chasson. REV, represented by CEO Josh Descant. Terrebonne Foundation for Academic Excellence by Ashley Barahona. Thank you all for your support in making this event a great success. Now please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here together today. We are grateful for this opportunity to connect, collaborate, and strengthen our shared commitment to this community. Bless our time, our conversations, and the work we do to build a brighter future. We also appreciate this meal and those who prepared it. May it nourish us as we continue our efforts. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. We have a very long list of elected officials. First off, thank you all for coming, taking the time. So we're going to run through this list rather quickly. Please hold your applause till the end. Please welcome me with our elected officials and distinguished guests who have joined us today. Louisiana State Governor Jeff Landry and First Lady Sharon Landry. They're in the back. I brought him a pound of bourgeois beef jerky, so he's probably catching a little snack. State Senator Mike Feasey, State Senator Blake Miguez, State Representative Jessica Domain, Bessie, District 3 Board Member Sandy Holloway, Louisiana Commissioner of Administration Taylor Barra, Lafourche Parish President Archie Chasson, Terrebonne Parish President Jason Bergeron. Lafourche Parish Sheriff Craig Webb. Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Tim Saunier. Lafourche Parish District Attorney Christine Russell. Lafourche Parish Assessor Wendy Thibodeau. Lafourche Parish Clerk of Court Annette Fontana. St. Mary Parish Assessor Jared Longman. Terrebonne Parish Council members Kimberly Chauvin, Kevin Champagne, and Danny Babin. City of Berwick Mayor Duval Arthur. City of Berwick Council member Colleen Askew. City of Franklin Mayor Eugene Folcard. City of Franklin Mayor Pro Tem Lester Levine. City of Morgan City Mayor Lee Dragna. City of Thibodaux Mayor Kevin Clement. City of Thibodaux Council member Monique Crochet. Town of Baldwin Mayor Clarence Fappy. Town of Baldwin Alderwoman Amber Richard Tillman. Lafourche Parish Public Schools Superintendent Jared Martin. St. Mary Parish Schools Superintendent Dr. Buffy Fagenbush. St. Mary Parish School Board members Elena Black, Andrew Manskuna, Lawrence Guillory, Marilyn LaSalle, and Lindsay Anselm. With U.S. Senator Kennedy's office, Caroline Theriault, CPR Chairman of the Board, Gordy Dove. With U.S. Congressman Steve Scalise's office, Fred Trowbridge. With Governor Landry's office, Doug Sheremine. CPRA Executive Director, Glenn Leday. Nichols State University President, Dr. Jay Clune. Greater Lafourche Port Commissioners, John Malassaw Jr., Chris Caille, Chucky Sheremine, Rodney Gisclair Sr., Reggie Leday, Chad Caille, Jimmy Lafont, Mike Caille, Tom Petrie. Greater Lafourche Port Commission, I'm almost done, I promise. Greater Lafourche Port Commission Executive Director, Chet Chasson. North Lafourche Levee District Executive Director, Dwayne Bourgeois. Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District President, Tony Alfred. Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District Executive Director, Angelina Hidalgo. Port of Morgan City Executive Director, Raymond Mack Wade. Let's give them a round of applause. So before we introduce our governor, I wanted to let you all know that before Hurricane Francine made landfall in our region, Governor Landry called me to offer the full support of his office, GOSEP, every state agency, and it really gave me the confidence to tackle the problems that were coming ahead. We received supplies and relief faster than any administration in Louisiana's history. And I want you all to know that when we called, he delivered for us. Jeff Landry's love for our state and passion for helping others is defined by his Louisiana roots. Jeff grew up in the small town of St. Martinville, where his mother was a school teacher, and his parents took him to church every day. Later, Jeff learned the value of hard work in the sugarcane fields, and then proudly joined the National Guard, serving in Operation Desert Storm. After returning home, Jeff worked as a police officer and a sheriff's deputy, and later started a successful business and went to law school. As a public servant, both as a U.S. Congressman and as the Attorney General of Louisiana, Jeff has shown strength and courage in fighting for common sense values and bringing people together to deliver solutions. On October 14th, 2023, Jeff Landry was elected to become the 57th governor of Louisiana in a historic primary victory. On January 8th, 2024, he assumed office. As governor, he will not be afraid to make the changes necessary for Louisiana and deliver results and fight for our working families. It is my great honor to introduce to you the Governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry.
How y'all doing? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all, how's it going today? I am so thrilled, really and truly. I'm so thrilled to be here today. I always love coming down to Bayou. God, I love it. It's so much nicer than Baton Rouge. I mean, don't tell the people in Baton. It's not against the people in Baton Rouge. Just, you know, it's a lot of concrete over there. I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to congratulate Chet Chasson, the Executive Director of Port of Fourchon, who was recently elected Chairman of the Board of Directors of the American Port Association. So, Chet, thank you so much. And so before we get started, I got a little surprise. Actually, we just say we do it in honor of your new position there, Chet, because I know you and Ray and a bunch of them have worked so hard on our coastal problems here in the state. But in honor of President Trump, who is absolutely putting America first and making sure that he focuses on making sure that Americans are first, I thought we would have a little signing ceremony. And I would like to invite Gordy Dove and Glenn Leday and any of the legislators who are here. If y'all want to just come up for just a second, we'll have a little fun. Let's see, maybe I'll take this mic with me. How about that? Can I take this thing with me? Who's in charge of this thing? Huh? You are. Well, by the way, let me get started. I want you to know, I was talking to Rory. What a great place he got here today. And he told me that I'm the sixth governor that's been there. I said, well, I want to make sure I'm the best governor. Y'all come down. Come see me on this side. Y'all come close. Tell y'all what we're doing right here. Oh, man, we're going to have so much fun. What I'm going to do in front of y'all is I'm going to sign an executive order that is going to instruct all of the state agencies and the Law Institute to make sure that we update all of our statutes and all references in government document, changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. But I got a little additional surprise because in this executive order, I'm going to be able to arm each one of our legislators and everyone who goes up, including Chet and everyone else who goes up to Washington, with a little additional bit of information because Section 5 says, I also urge and request that the United States Congress pass a resolution officially recognizing the Gulf of America and establish. And when they do that, we want them to establish a uniform state territorial jurisdiction of water limits. In simple terms, that means we're going to all get the same amount of miles off the coast as everyone else. How about that? And then we also asked them to equal the offshore boundaries consistent with the rights of submarines, but to also ensure that all of the Gulf states share in the amount of oil royalties as do all the other states in the country at a 50-50% Gulf revenue sharing ability. So this basically says that if we can do this, and now all of a sudden we can start getting more of our money to protect our coast. So all right, so I'm going to sign this, all right. Should we give Mike the mic? Give Mike the mic. Let's see.
Gotta give the mic to Mike.
All right, how about that? We'll sign a couple of these, and we'll let each of the representatives keep them. And
Okay.
we can distribute these copies and in these pens, and certainly we want to make sure that each one of the levy boards gets one of these. And Gordy always wants.
Yeah.
How about that? We'll make sure these one levy boards get signed and coalition, and I want to thank you. Thank y'all so much.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, more at the columns. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. And welcome back as we continue to cover the governor as he came to this area to talk about what's taking place in Baton Rouge and across the whole state, sort of focusing in on some of the things that will be happening, very important to the area, including some amendments. Now, I had a chance to sit down with the governor. We were very respectful of his time. He's a busy man. We caught up with him just before he got on the stage to speak in Houma. Let's listen into some of that interview. Tell us about the first meeting in Thibodaux. That was a very good speech, a lot of information, but how's it going to morph to in Houma today?
Well, I mean, the speech is going to pretty much be the same because it's really a state of the state. It's talking about the things that we were able to accomplish in a very short period of time and how fast we moved last year. I guess I thought we moved fast until we saw how fast President Trump's moving. Look, the message is still the same. We've got a very important vote that's coming up on March 29th. Early voting is going to start Saturday. And, you know, what we have basically done is put the direction of the state of Louisiana in the hands of the people of the state of Louisiana. They have an opportunity to give themselves a raise by basically lowering the income tax, putting more money in their pockets, giving teachers a pay raise by paying off debt, double the deduction for our senior citizens, hoping to keep more seniors here in Louisiana, protect the homestead exemption and religious exemptions that are already in the Constitution, and then give us an opportunity to pave the way for further income tax reduction, which we've already seen in some of the taxes that we've been able to repeal, are paving the way for economic prosperity from one end of Louisiana all the way to the other.
But you said we'd have a chance to move up from like 50 to maybe in the upper 20s when we do this?
Right. Well, we've already moved up from 42 in the tax foundation to 25 or 26. This move, with this vote, we think it only betters that score. And like I said, and I'll say again today, is that we are when you look at those states that are in the top 10 of the tax foundation score and those that are on the bottom, there is a significant difference in the median income. That's the real amount of money that in people's pockets in those states versus those that don't have as much money in their pocket when they're in the bottom side. And so we know that we can use the tax foundation score as a litmus test for how well Louisiana is doing and is going to do.
Yeah. You mentioned that you sort of parallel a lot of what President Trump does. And he picked up the phone the other day, and he answers pretty regular. What's your relationship with the president, and how does he feel about the great state of Louisiana?
Well, first of all, he loves the great state of Louisiana, and I think a lot of people in the great state of Louisiana love him. He has, President Trump has received more votes from Louisiana than any other person ever on the ballot, ever, here in Louisiana. Any candidate, didn't matter whether they were running for. And he loves Louisiana as equally. He's been to Louisiana a lot of times. He's come to this. He was here just in January when he was here for the Super Bowl, and he sent his cabinet secretaries down here. And we enjoy a great relationship. I mean, he appointed me to the Council of Governors the other day. I didn't even ask him for it. And, he seems to call quite often when he's doing great things and say, "Hey, come down. I'm signing an executive order." We share some great stories. Again, I just think he likes elected officials who live up to their promises, and I think he sees us as the type of administration that fulfills those promises.
How important is Amendment 2? I heard you this morning, and you said it's critical for the future of Louisiana.
Oh, it's pivotal. It's absolutely critical. It's the linchpin. Again, that's what I said earlier. We've basically placed the future of Louisiana in the hands of voters. So for every one of those who has complained about how our economy has lagged, how our education has lagged, how our government has fits and starts and can't seem to get it together, we've straightened it out to the point where the only way to really get it in the direction we need is to go back to the people, which is why we wanted to rewrite the Constitution last year, was because we recognized that since '72, it's been, I mean, we've got more pages and more words in our state constitution than any other state constitution in the history of this country. It's overplagued, it's bureaucratic, and it's unnecessary. A constitution should be about the fundamental structure and the fundamental rights of how people govern themselves within a state. And so the Constitution Amendment 2 does about 30% of the work that we wanted to do, and we've seen that when we take bold steps, we get good results. Look, we announced a $10 billion data center up in Richland Parish in North Louisiana, largest ever in the history of North Louisiana. We've got an $18 billion expansion going down in Plaquemines Parish. All of that drilling activity and energy activity means great things for Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. I mean, look, I love it down here. You know.
And you said close to $50 billion. Did I hear you correctly this morning?
That's correct. I believe that if I do an interview with you in December, we'll be close to $50 billion worth of projects that we have been brought to Louisiana. It's not just me. I didn't bring it, but that is the things, that the people of Louisiana can do to give me and the legislature the tools to close on those $50 billion worth of deals, and that is to vote for Amendment number 2 on March 29th in early voting, which starts Saturday.
Yeah. Final question, because I know you're about to go speak to a large group out there, but I saw Gordy Dove out there, and boy, they just love the coastal plans that are going on under your administration. Talk about that a little bit, and it's massive, isn't it?
It is, and we've got a great surprise for them, because then I'll give you a little bit of inside scoop. I know you like that, and those that are watching as well, is that we're getting ready to go sign an executive order on the Gulf of America, making sure that every state agency and that we start to retool from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America on all. Everywhere where the Gulf of Mexico is mentioned, we're going to substitute it now for a new Gulf of America. I know the president's going to love that. But in addition to that, we put some real nice things in it. And it's in the bottom of that executive order is that we're urging Congress to rename the Gulf of Mexico officially to the Gulf of America, and then to make sure that the state water boundaries are equitable across the new Gulf of America. And then also we urge Congress to recognize that other states who have federal properties like Alaska and Wyoming and New Mexico, sharing 50% of all royalties that are extracted from those properties. And we want Louisiana and the rest of the Gulf Coast states to share in that as well. Look, the federal government wrote New Mexico a check for $2.9 billion, and we don't know where they're going to spend that money in New Mexico. And they wrote us one for $138 million. Well, let me tell you, I told Doug Burgum, the Secretary of Interior, I said, you give me a $2.9 billion, and I'm going to spend it right here on the coast, protecting that great assets that you just toured and the great people of Louisiana.
All right. Governor, thank you for your time, and I know they're waiting for you.
Thank you.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, we now go from the governor to the columns once again as he addressed a large crowd on what's taking place in the area, and a lot of it very positive news. Listen very carefully.
I'll tell you, I wanted to take a moment to do that because I think it's extremely important, because I do believe that we are at a pivotal moment in America and in this state. And like I said earlier, President Trump, who absolutely loves Louisiana, and we know that Louisiana absolutely loves him, is focused on putting America first. And 2 years ago, at the ballot box, you sent a group of men and women, many of those who joined me just now at that table, and myself to Baton Rouge to institute change. And you were tired of the problems that have plagued this state. And we have absolutely answered this call. And over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the major accomplishments that we had last year, the direction that we're going to take this state, and how, when it's all said and done, you will be able to look back at this moment in time and say that this was a pivotal moment for not only the history of this country, but the history of this state. And so I'll take you back, because, you know, I hate to pick on Mike, but, you know, one of the reasons that I have so much fun and I get so much joy coming down here is because many of the people in this room took a chance on me. In fact, I can remember when I told Sharon that I wanted to run for Congress after I'd lost that state senator race. She didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. I don't know where y'all put her, but she laughed. And she said, I don't know how you can do that. And I came down here and I met with many of you, and you took a chance on me. And in 2010, you sent me to the United States House of Representatives with 95 new members of Congress, of which it was the largest class since like the 1920s. And when you look back and you think about the relationships that we have been able to make through that first 2 years, as a one-term congressman, I tell people I was like Davy Crockett, short and fun, man, short and fun. I want to get one of them little hats, you know. But when we were doing that, one of the things that I took seriously was fiscal responsibility. And at that time, I actually went inside of my member resource account, which is the account that they give members of Congress to be able to spend throughout their term on the different things that they need to run their office. And I was able to return $180,000 to the U.S. Treasury. It was one of the most painful experiences I've ever had. Not because it was painful returning the money, it's because it was painful trying to get John Boehner to take the money and give it back to the U.S. Treasury. Because he was like, we don't have a process to do that. I said, well, that's the problem. And I remember at that time, Mike came over one day. Where's Mike sitting? Mike, and he brought me a chainsaw. You remember that, Mike? I remember. And then when I look at President Trump and Elon Musk, and Elon brings that chainsaw, and I was like, Jesus. I said, Mike was ahead of the game. And then again, when you elected me as Attorney General, if you remember, 8, 9 years ago, the state was under dire fiscal problems. We were under a fiscal cliff. And I knew that we had to tighten our belt at the Department of Justice. I brought this good friend of mine who's a business guy like many of you out there who says he's cheap. He's really not cheap. He's just pretty efficient. And I let Steve Orlando come in there and take everybody's printer away from him, which he wasn't too happy about, and centralize our printing. And he found like $2 or $3 million in a year at the Department of Justice, and we created and ran a fiscal responsibility program for 8 years. So we were doing the things that Donald Trump is doing at the national level before it was cool. Now, don't tell the president that we were first, and you're going to get me in trouble, okay? But it really is true, and we have brought that back, and we're doing it at the state level. In fact, just the other day, we were able to find, and we just started, $1 million in cell phones that only just one agency was not even utilizing. They didn't even realize they had it. They were just paying the bill, and just like they were using it, and they did not realize that $1 million worth of cell phone data was not being utilized. And so I want you to know, as I begin to walk you through all of the things that we do, that we are taking the money that you spend in taxes and send to Baton Rouge extremely seriously. And we want to make sure that we have efficiencies built in state government so that we can take that money and we can start to use it on the things that we need. Okay, to make sure that we can use that to reinvest it in infrastructure and education. And guess what? And turn some of that money back over to you all. And again, I just want to reiterate the relationship that we have with the president is extraordinary. And not only with him, but with his cabinet as well. Again, I mentioned the fact that you took a chance on me. You sent me to the U.S. House of Representatives. In that class was Kristi Noem, who not only did I have an opportunity to serve with her in Congress, I served with her as a governor, and who is now the head of the Department of Homeland Security. And guess what? FEMA is underneath the Department of Homeland Security, and she has made a commitment that what we need here in Louisiana, she is going to fulfill. And then again, Pam Bondi, who was instrumental in helping me get elected as the Attorney General. She was the Attorney General in Florida, who is now the U.S. Attorney General. She is the U.S. Attorney General, who has committed the resources necessary for us to continue helping bring our crime rate down in Louisiana, making sure that our communities are safe, Cash Patel, and the list just goes on and on. Each one of those people that I have known, or that I know, are relationships that I built based upon the trust that you put in me. And those relationships are going to be leveraged for the benefit of the people of the state of Louisiana. And I just can't wait, because I think it's exciting. And I'm going to walk you through some of the great things that we've been doing. And I'm going to tell you how right now the future of Louisiana is actually in your hands at this point in time. And so what we did was we recognized last year, at the beginning of last year, we recognized that you sent us to Baton Rouge to untangle the web of challenges that we had, from public safety to education and the economy. How frustrated many of you all were as we watched tens of thousands of people leave our state for better opportunities around the rest of the country. And we got to work right away. I mean, I thought we were going pretty fast until I watched Trump. I got to be honest with y'all. But we immediately started to tackle crime and public safety. And we put the legislature into a special session, and we did it by focusing on two groups of people: victims and law enforcement. I mean, that's kind of novel. You would think, wow, you want to do public safety? How would you focus on the two most important people in there? And we did, because we had taken our eye off of those two groups of people, not only here in the state, but nationally as well. And we went and we passed a slurry of bills aimed at protecting victims and supporting our law enforcement. We balanced our sentencing out. We did away with parole. We married our sentencing guidelines to the federal government. We recognized that we had a huge problem with juvenile crime. I mean, as I went around and campaigned, I would ask people in the audience, do you believe we have a juvenile crime problem? And you could say, everyone just say, yes, we got a problem. And it especially came from sheriffs and chiefs of police. And so we corrected the juvenile age. And then right now, on the ballot, there are 4 amendments. And one of those amendments is Amendment 3 that is going to further aid us in those reforms. And I hope that you can support it as well. We increased the penalties for fentanyl distribution and carjacking and so much more. And we also, but I want you to know, we also recognize, and you've heard me say this before, that a lot of times good people make bad decisions and they deserve a second chance. And we made sure that we strengthened our drug court system, that we strengthened our ID, we reformed our ID board, that we made sure that we put in place a path so that we could reduce the amount of recidivism, so that our jails are not like revolving doors and that people are just going in and out of them. We want people that if they have to go to jail and then when they come out of jail, we want them to be productive members of society. And so we did all that in a special session. And we have seen demonstrable results. You know, we put a brand new troop in the city of New Orleans. And I want you to know that I started in New Orleans because I believe that if you can fix the problem in New Orleans, you can fix anything, right? And for the last year, we have concentrated on that, and we are seeing results inside the city of New Orleans. And that by doing so, we now have a model that we can now replicate across the state in conjunction or in partnering with the Trump administration and General Bondi. We can now start to work on other cities around the state and in the rural areas under which you're seeing violent crime at a level that is absolutely not acceptable. And so we are making Louisiana safe again. And so right after that special session, not long after, we went right into a regular session. And in that regular session, we wanted to focus on education. And there again, we went back and we focused on 2 groups of people, parents and teachers. Again, it's like, wow, this is not rocket science, you know? I mean, because we understand that parents are the most important voice in a child's education and that teachers are the most important person in that child's education. And then when we focus on those 2 people, those 2 groups of people, that the result is going to be a better educational system. And so we did things like pass an educational scholarship account, which is school choice. And the legislature did it in a way that was responsible. So we started with parents with kids with disabilities and the poorest of the poor. But when you think about parents who have children with disabilities, it is unfair to the child and the parent that child does not have access to programs that may be better suited for that child just simply because they're stuck in a particular zip code. And I'm going to tell you, as we work through this, it is only going to strengthen our educational system. We put a project together called Let the Teachers Teach, where this is another novel. We said, why don't we bring a bunch of teachers in and let them tell us all of the things that they're having to do that is unnecessary, that takes classroom time away from them, that takes face time between them and their students away from them. And they gave us a laundry list of things, and then we sent it to the legislature, and they started to scrape away those things because over time, we were turning our teachers into social workers instead of teachers. And if we need social workers, and we get social workers on there, but for God's sakes, let's ensure that when the teacher's in the classroom, they're doing the things that you hope you send your kid to school to do, which is to educate your child. And then, now I want to know, how many of you appreciate this? Then we took cell phones out of classrooms. Huh? How many? Y'all don't like that? I'm just asking. I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of mamas that called me, and they were so happy. I had a lot of teachers that were so happy. Now, I had some nieces and nephews that were like, Uncle Jeff, what did y'all do? Took my phone away. But all of a sudden, you know, teachers have told me since that time, you're starting to see greater interaction between students and between students and teachers because there's not a device that's distracting them, right? I mean, I see all the mamas whose heads are bobbing. And then I got to tell you, this is the best one. This is the funnest one. Of course, Robert and them, They probably realized it before me. Dodie Horton, the state representative from Bossier, she files this bill to put the Ten Commandments back in class. I don't even recognize that it's in the mix. I'm so focused on everything else. And we get to the signing ceremony, kind of like what we were doing right there. And I'm signing all of these great pieces of educational reform. And this bill comes to the table. And I read it and it says, oh, we're putting the Ten Commandments back in class. I'm like, oh, this is great. Sign the bill. It's no big deal. Walk out and it's like, oh my God, right? I mean, the nation is just like on fire. And I'm thinking to myself, now how ironic is it? How ironic is it that every day you try to teach your kids and we send them to school trying to ensure that they instill to be obedient, not to steal, not to lie, and yet we deny them the right to see those same things spelled out in the Ten Commandments. I did not know that the Ten Commandments was a bad way to live your life. Right? And here's what I'll tell you. Your child can either learn and read the Ten Commandments, or they're going to learn to read the criminal code. And after we signed that bill and all the left had their hair on fire, I got more calls from teachers, retired teachers who had taught in the system for 30 and 40 years, telling me thank you because they had watched the erosion of our educational system, and it was in correlation with the movement of prayer out of school, the movement of the Ten Commandments out of school, all things that, by the way, this country was founded on, right? I mean, the back doors of the United States Supreme Court has the Ten Commandments on them. Moses is displayed in the United States House of Representatives. Yet for some reason, we have to blindfold our children like these documents and these words of kryptonite to them is absolutely out of control. And quite frankly, it's un-American. And Louisiana led. I remember the lieutenant governor from Texas called me up, Dan Kirkpatrick. He said, I can't believe y'all did that before Texas. I said, well, Dan, get ready. Louisiana's starting to come ahead of Texas here soon. But and working with the legislature and Dr. Brumley, the superintendent of education, Dr. K. Brumley, unbelievable guy, unbelievable. I mean, Robert, I'll tell you, many of the legislators. Right now, Louisiana has achieved the highest test scores in a generation. Right now, that's what we have right now, based upon the results. And so what I'm showing you is how Louisiana is on the move. And our goal on educational reform was simple. We wanted every child in Louisiana to understand that they had an opportunity to reach their full potential and that we were preparing them for the jobs of tomorrow while ensuring that they could get the jobs of today and ensuring that those jobs and opportunities were going to be right here in Louisiana. And guess what? Guess what? For the first time in decades, the Census Bureau reported that last year, Louisiana received 30,000 brand new people instead of sending 35,000 out. And again, that was because of the things that people were seeing. And so, because I thought those legislators had a little bit more juice in them as we got towards it, they're looking real great now, they've rested up. But right before Thanksgiving, we brought them back in. Oh, and they were like, I can't believe right before. I said, look, we all have turkey for Thanksgiving. Don't worry, you'll be out. And we brought them in to tackle tax reform and our tax policy because it's been one of the biggest hindrances in why we have not seen the economic prosperity that, say, places like Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia. And when you have complained about, and you've gone to those states, you say, well, why are they getting an automotive plant? Or why are they getting this? Or why is South Carolina getting Boeing? One of the major reasons was our complicated tax code. And let me tell you, they answered the call in a bipartisan fashion, and they have placed before you all the largest tax cut in the history of the state of Louisiana. Because they repealed the franchise tax, they lowered the corporate income tax, and with bipartisan support, they have placed the answer as to whether or not we're going to lower our income tax and pave the way to eliminating our income tax before you all, before the voters. Okay? Because in Amendment 2 on the ballot is a complete rewrite of Article 7. I want you to know something. We tried real hard to rewrite our entire Constitution. Not because it was a bad document, because it's a bloated document. And because it's an abused document. And look, I get it. We were moving fast when fast wasn't cool. If Trump would have got elected the year before, maybe we'd have gotten it done. Because we'd have said, wow, this guy's moving fast. We were actually moving a little slow. But in Amendment 2, we're getting 30% of what we could have achieved in a constitutional rewrite. So we're going to continue that progress. But what Amendment 2 does is about 30% of what we wanted to do. And if you vote for Amendment 2 and it passes, it's going to only further strengthen our score with the tax foundation, because right now, can you believe this? I guarantee you, 10 years ago, if I'd have read this statement to you, I said, no way. Right now, the tax foundation, which is the litmus test for determining how good of a business climate your state has, now ranks Louisiana as having one of the most competitive and lowest income taxes in the country. Huh? How you like that? That ranking only gets better with your vote. And if you don't believe that it's important, let me show you. Let me give you some examples. Because right after we signed all those bills and sent that amendment to y'all to be voted on this month, in December, we announced one of the largest projects. Well, no, it was the largest project ever to happen in North Louisiana in the history of this state, when Meta decided to announce and is building a $10 billion AI center in North Louisiana. $10 billion in a part of the state that has never seen that type of economic opportunity. And I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be more than $10 billion. And they're also committed that this is going to be the largest AI center in Meta's portfolio in the world, right here in Louisiana. And then just last week, Trump sends two, not one, but two cabinet secretaries. I don't know. Many of you have been in politics for longer than me. I have never seen two cabinet secretaries go to the same state, into the same place, to visit one site where Venture Global announced an additional expansion to the work they're doing in Plaquemines to the tune of $18 billion. I mean, think about that. That just between those two projects is $28 billion. That's the kind of momentum we have, and that momentum will continue if you support that amendment. The future of this state is actually in your hands now. You sent great people to the legislature. They responded. Now it's up to you. Because the responsibility is now placed on the people of Louisiana to say, hey, we appreciate the things that y'all do. You are doing exactly what we asked you to do. And so again, that amendment is the linchpin. And let me tell you what's in it. It lowers your income tax. It doubles the deduction for our senior citizens so that we start to retain our senior citizens instead of having them move to Florida and to Texas, right? We create a limit on government spending that says that our state government is going to live within its means. We're going to merge and eliminate duplicative savings accounts, streamlining the financial management of state government, reducing waste, which we want to do so we can take that reduction in waste and turn it into very productive things, like either lowering your taxes even more or getting you better roads and bridges, or both. We preserve the homestead exemption, and we protect religious exemptions in the Constitution. Anyone who says otherwise does not know what they're talking about. And then we provide teachers with a permanent pay raise. And guess what? We do it in the most responsible manner. We do it like each one of you all who are in business, you men and women. When you're in your businesses, you're trying to find ways to be more efficient, right? Well, that's what we did. Richard Nelson, one of the smartest people I know, figured out that we were sending $300 million worth of interest payments to New York banks. And we figured out a way that with your vote, we can take that $300 million worth of interest payments and we can give teachers a permanent pay raise. Now, isn't that the way you want government to work? Huh? How many of y'all have teachers in your families? How many times you've heard them say they want a pay raise? Huh? Well, guess what? You can go back home and tell them that you're going to go vote March 29th. Yes, that's what you're going to do, right? And then they're going to get the pay raise. And it's also going to help us eliminate the inventory tax, which is one of the most vexing taxes to me. I hate it. It is one of the greatest barriers for new business to come into the state of Louisiana as any tax that we have out there. But before, when we tried to eliminate it, we were just going to take it away from local government and we're going to give them nothing. And that's not fair. That's not the way that you create a partnership. Because our goal is to make sure that local governments have the ability and the vehicles under which they can raise the revenue to provide the services that you demand they provide. In fact, I would rather have local government provide many of those services instead of them relying on the state to send them money to provide those services. You know what I mean? It becomes a middleman kind of deal. And so we've been working with our sheriffs and our local governments, and packaged inside that amendment is exactly that. And so remember, with one vote, I don't remember the last time that with one vote, you could lower your income tax. You could pave the way for further lowering your income tax. You could give seniors a double deduction so they keep more of their hard-earned retirement money. You could give teachers a pay raise in a way that doesn't cost you a cent. It takes away money from Wall Street banks, which I got no guilt in doing. You protect all of the things that you find valuable, like the homestead exemption and our religious exemptions. You limit the growth of government. And what you do is you begin to write the new chapter of Louisiana. Because everything that I just explained to you was done with one goal in mind, focusing on the greatest natural resource that we have in this state, and that is you. I've always believed, and many people who you send to Baton Rouge believe, that the greatest natural resource we have is not what we mine from the ground. It's not what we grow in the dirt. It is you all. And for decades now, we have been forcing the greatest natural resource in this state out of here. And what's worse, we were getting nothing for it. And today, we're starting to see those natural resources come back. The ability to retain our children and our children's children so that they get to grow up in one of the greatest states in the United States. There is not a better place with better people than right here in Louisiana. And so in closing, I just urge you, you have it. This is where the future of Louisiana is now placed in the hands of the people of Louisiana. And if you do that, you're going to clear the way for us to concentrate this session on things that matter most to you as well, like real insurance reform, like restructuring our Department of Transportation and Development, like further lowering our tax burden in the state. And when you vote for that, when that amendment passes, and as we work through this, believe you me, it will not be long before you will be smiling consistently. And as you travel around the country, people will be like, wow, what are y'all doing in Louisiana? You know what? Guess what? My son just left, pick a state, and is moving to Louisiana for a job opportunity or a better educational opportunity. And that's what you're going to get. So again, I've been humbled by the opportunity to serve as your governor. I thank you for the legislators that you've sent to work with us in Baton Rouge. And I can't wait to come back to Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. God bless you. Thank you so very much.
We are going to give our sponsors each 2 minutes to speak, and we are going to begin with Bayou Bend Health System, CEO Stephanie Guidry.
Wow, what an honor to be here to be a sponsor of this for Governor Landry.
It's so exciting, all the wonderful things he's doing for Louisiana. One of the wonderful things he's doing, he's very supportive of rural hospitals. I am the CEO of Bayou Health System, which is in Franklin. We have a designation of critical access hospital. So rural hospitals are critical to the healthcare system in Louisiana. There is a population that needs our services, and without them, they would not have healthcare because they cannot afford to travel to larger organizations or larger hospitals. I would also like to thank Senator Robert Alland for his support. He is our senator for District 21, and he is very, very supportive. I'm on the board of the Rural Hospital Coalition, and we have seen hospitals close across the country, 100 or more. In Louisiana, we have not closed one hospital, and that's because of the forward thinking of the Louisiana for protecting rural hospitals. We are very fortunate to have this hospital and to be in Louisiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, we will have CoLab represented by CEO Christy Zerang.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Very proud to be here today. Wanted to tell you a little bit about CoLab, which is formerly SLEC, South Louisiana Economic Council, and we are one of 8 regional economic development offices in the state of Louisiana. We represent Assumption, Lafourche, St. Mary, and Terrebonne. And CoLab, C-O-L-A-B, is not an acronym. It doesn't stand for anything, but it's all about regional collaboration. And I've been preaching that since I started with SLEC, and we are bringing everyone together for regional collaboration among our Bayou parishes. I do have a brief video I'd like to play if we are able to get that going.
Louisiana's Bayou region has always been about hard work and heart. We built our name along the working coast, where industry thrives, communities prosper, and sugarcane fields add a sweet note to our story. For generations, welders, fishers, and energy pioneers have navigated shifting tides with a spirit of resilience. Our culture resonates in the music that drifts from festival stages and the recipes passed down on front porches. Faith, family, and fellowship shaped our identity, steadying us through each challenge. Meanwhile, educators and hands-on innovators equip every generation to dream bigger, keeping us competitive and connected. Today we're at a crossroads calling for bold steps ahead. We see it in students mastering cutting-edge technology, small businesses leveraging digital tools, and leaders embracing fresh opportunities. Energy remains a cornerstone, now evolving with sustainable methods to power our future. Collaboration in engineering, healthcare, logistics, and beyond fuels our imagination for what's next. By investing in strong infrastructure and bold ideas, we unite tradition with progress. Here, progress and heritage move in step, forging a story that's both timeless and forward-thinking. This is the new Bayou region, stronger in community, richer in collaboration. We are ready for what's next. We are now CoLab.
It is very exciting. And just a couple of brief announcements. We are hosting Bayou Region Day at the Capitol. We are going to finally have our own day at the Capitol. It'll be the 3rd day of session on April 16th at the Barracks. We've already secured John Falls Culinary Institute and Coco Marina. We'll also have live entertainment. There is a QR code to register right there on the screen. Also, we are wrapping up our applications now for the Bayou Region CEO Roundtables through LED. You can find that information on our website. We will be doing another Bayou Business Summit again this year. 2 years ago, it was in Lafourche. Last year, Terrebonne, and we are moving it to St. Mary Parish this year. And then finally, you'll see our annual report on the table so that you know what we've been working on in the past year. Please go to bayouregion.com to sign up for all of our information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, Executive Director Chet Castle.
Thank you, Senator. All right, it's certainly a pleasure and an honor to represent the Greater Lafourche Port Commission here today. Virtually all of them were announced earlier. We have one that's not here, but it's always great to represent them, those gentlemen that allow me to do what I do every day. This year is our 65th anniversary, so be on the lookout for an announcement about our May 17th, details about our May 17th public event that we're having to highlight the port and everything that's happened over the last 65 years and all the things we're trying to accomplish for the next 65 years. I won't be around for all of those, but we're planning for the future. And I guess and I won't say my hope, but when we get the things that we're planning, are currently in the planning stages now, hopefully the governor's coming here and telling you about billion-dollar projects in our region and not places elsewhere, all right? That's the type of thing that we're working on today that we're gonna see in the future with an LNG plant, with a Fouchon Island development, with the things that we need to expand our capabilities, not just for Port Fouchon and Lafourche Parish, but the entire region for the future. It's certainly an honor as well to chair the board of CoLab. So as we're thinking about what we're doing for Port Fouchon, in the back of our mind, we're always talking about what the things that we do at the port, how it impacts the region and the state and the national economy as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Chet. Next, we have REV, represented by CEO Josh Descant.
Well, first of all, thank you to the combined associations for having us here today. It's an honor to be able to sponsor this event and see everybody from the community come together. Also, a huge thank you to the community at large for entrusting REV in your homes and businesses, for your connectivity needs, for your telecommunications needs. It's a real honor and privilege for us to be able to serve you for many, many years in this community. On that note, we are actually turning 90 years old this year at REV, founded in 1935, still headquartered right here in Southeast Louisiana, the largest privately owned telecommunications company actually in the state. A little bit about us. We have 70,000 customers across the southeastern region, extending with our fiber optic internet platform from Grand Isle, Port Fouchon area on up to Baton Rouge. We have nearly 400 employees that live in this community and serve you guys who are incredibly proud to do the work they do. Makes my job incredibly easy and how dedicated they are. In fact, we've got a number of them today. Just a huge shout out and thank you to you all for doing what you do at REV. The next big project for us, if I could back up a minute, so when I mentioned fiber optic internet, REV was actually one of the first in the country 20 years ago to build out a fiber optic network in southeastern Louisiana. There's a big challenge ahead for Louisiana, though, in the sense that there are still a lot of homes and businesses across the state that don't have access to high-speed internet. And in fact, Governor Landry has been very, very supportive in running a program with his Office of Broadband to run a public-private partnership to address that concern. And REV is going to be a big participant in one of our next big projects to build out fiber optic internet with our experience across a lot of southeastern Louisiana with other providers focused on central and north Louisiana. So a huge shout out to Governor Landry and his Office of Broadband for running an efficient process that didn't have burdensome rules and onerous requirements in the actual application process. In fact, Louisiana is recognized as a thought leader and frankly, a role model across the country that everyone's talking about because we're going first with this program. It's referred to as BEAD, but effectively it's bringing broadband to those most rural, hard-to-reach parts of Louisiana. So Rev is very, very proud to be able to participate in that program, and we look forward to getting started here in the next couple months. So again, thank you for having us. It's a real honor, and again, thank you all for your support of our company.
Thank you, Josh. Last but certainly not least, Terrebonne Foundation for Academic Excellence, represented by Ashley Barahona.
I would be amiss if I did not acknowledge our wonderful board of directors for the Terrebonne Foundation for Academic Excellence. So if you're a TFAE board member, please stand to be acknowledged. Yes, Mark, Steve, Brian. These volunteers work diligently throughout the year to provide our mission and impact our community one grant, $1, one teacher, and one child at a time. You heard Governor Jeff Landry talk about the importance of education, and TFAE's sole mission is to enhance our classroom experience and to support our educators and provide the community with literacy and STEM programs throughout the year. We, through our teacher grants, this year alone, we have allocated over $70,000 to help support our educators in the public school system. Since 2012, since we started the grant program over 13 years ago, we have invested $4 million in our technology grant programs and our consumable item grant programs as well. That's a tremendous impact that we are having on our future leaders. We are also preparing our young minds to be entering a school age through our Dolly Parton Imagination Library program that we sponsor. Since 2012, TFAE has mailed over 400,000 books to our young residents in Terrebonne Parish. The only requirements for Dolly Parton Imagination Library is that, one, you're either 0 to 5 years of age, since none of us in this room meet that requirement, but maybe our children and grandchildren do, and that you're a resident of the parish. We currently have over 3,000 kids enrolled in that program, which basically equates to about 80% of that targeted population. This makes Terrebonne Parish and TFAE's Dolly Parton Imagination program the second largest in the state of Louisiana. I love Dolly. I know you guys love Dolly too. But Aunt Dolly is not paying for this program, and this program is definitely not free. It's only with the support of our community, investors, and sponsors like you guys that we're able to continue this wonderful program, and it truly is a gem in our parish. So here's my beg, here's my ask for you guys. We have our biggest fundraiser coming up on May 10th, which is our Cajun Food Fest and Run for Excellence. I put some flyers on the tables with some information, and you can always visit our website as well. If you can't support as a sponsor, we ask that you support as a participant or as a food partner. Like I said, the event is on May 10th. All the information that you need is on the flyer on your tables. Once again, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a pleasure, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. And before we begin our closing remarks, I just want to say thank you, number one, for asking me to be MC today. And number two, for many of you in this room that supported me in my run for state senate. You helped give me the opportunity to have this pen, and I just want you to know that every day we are working extremely hard to run the most effective and efficient Senate office in the entire state. Thanks to Ms. Laura Meadows, hiding in the back, and Ms. Jill Eldridge. Our staff works harder than anybody, so kudos to my staff. Thank you. On behalf of the Bayou Industrial Group, the Houma Terrebonne Chamber, the Lafourche Chamber, the St. Mary Chamber, South Central Industrial Association, and the Thibodeau Chamber, we would like to thank Governor Jeff Landry for being our speaker today. A special thanks again to our sponsors. We want to also thank Cypress Columns for a delicious meal, and to all of our chamber representatives for organizing this event. we ask that all of our representatives for each organization, our sponsors, and all executive directors of the chambers and their organizations to remain on stage for photos. This ends our program. Thank you all for attending today's joint luncheon. Thank you and safe travels.
All right, well, that about wraps it up. There you have it. The governor in Houma, the governor in Thibodaux, and he went to a lot of different areas, visited with a lot of different people while he was in the area. We thank you for joining us. Stay tuned to HTV for more local programming, and always go to Facebook and YouTube to catch all of these programs that we film here in the area. We like to put it on social media so you could watch it several times if you like. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.